pen name.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Flavor Talk, your monthly podcast where we talk to the movers, shakers, and flavor makers that make barbecue great. I'm your co-host, Brian Neal, a.k.a. Mr. Freak.
And I'm Ann Neal, Ms. Freak, and together Brian and I are the tongues and testers of the Flavor Guide at Barbecue Pro Shop, the world's first and only seasonings decoder and online buying guide. And joining us is our partner in flavor going all the way back to 2019, Jeff Belmonte, owner of Barbecue Pro Shop. Hey, Jeff.
Here, hello.
Hey, Jeff. So tonight we have a very special edition of Flavor Talk in a very special place with a very special person, because we are here with Amy Mills of 17th Street Barbecue in Murphysboro, Illinois. And we are on site. Usually we do these huddled in front of our laptop and we don't get to, rub shoulders with our guests. But today we've got Amy as kind of a freak sandwich, you can call this. But we are literally 200 feet away from the Praise the Lard barbecue competition. And that is why Amy is with us. This is kind of her jam, and she's going to tell us all about it. So how you doing, Amy?
I am fabulous. I am so excited to have you guys here. I'm so excited to talk all things Praise the Lard and all things barbecue. And I'm happy to be inside in the coolness.
It is
right
nice.
now.
Yeah,
Yes.
It is definitely cooler here. So we're going to jump right in because we don't have a lot of time. And that is because this barbecue competition has literally started basically now. We've got fish and wings that are going to get turned in a few hours. People are already starting up their grills, and we got to get back to get in on that. And, Amy's got a bunch of stuff to do as well. So
Just a little.
We are here at Praise the Lard. I understand this is the 37th time this event has gone down.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about who are you, what do you have to do with Praise the Lard, and what is Praise the Lard?
Sure. So 37 years ago, my dad, Mike Mills, also known as the legend in the world of barbecue, started this contest with a group of his friends, and it really started as an economic driver. He was a barbecue guy, and he did have 17th Street, and he barbecued a few times a week there, but our town was really undergoing a renaissance, and not in a good way. Walmart had come to the area, a mall started in Carbondale, Illinois. Many of our little downtown shops had just shriveled up and closed up the doors. So he knew that this contest would be a way to draw people to our town. They would stay in the hotels, they would buy a tank of gas and shop at the grocery store and eat out at some of the restaurants and just give a little bit of an economic infusion to our town. And now he also hoped, I have to say, that somebody, because he knew that all of these people are not just barbecuing all the time, that you never know who you're rubbing shoulders with and what they do professionally, but that somebody would fall in love with Murphysboro and with Southern Illinois, and they would relocate a business here. That part hasn't happened yet, but it's not over. It's not over till it's over. So in this time, this contest has grown from a Memphis, at that time, Memphis, oh my gosh.
Memphis Barbecue down there?
MBN, yeah.
Not
Those
even
guys?
MBN though. It used to
Not
be
even.
It was Memphis in May sanctioning contest.
Okay,
Oh,
Memphis and
I
May.
see.
To
Okay.
now a tri-sanctioned event.
Yep.
Right now we're standing at 111 teams. It was 101 yesterday, but now I've gotten some revised numbers.
Wow.
And people are coming from 20 states, which is over the top.
Wow.
Like, I just think he would be amazed to see how
Yeah.
this has evolved and grown. This is definitely our largest one yet.
All right, so we're going to rewind just a minute to talk about Mike, because you brought him up already. Mike Mills, for those who don't know, indeed, they call him the legend. When I first met him, someone had already told me, hey, this guy is the legend. So tell us a little bit about Mike and how he came to be such a big part of barbecue.
Sure. So he really grew up in a barbecue family, and his mom and dad had a barbecue sauce. His dad barbecued. By day, my grandfather sold soap suds and cigarettes for the Palmolive Pea Company. But at night and on the weekends, he barbecued. And when neighbors and friends would see him out in the back messing with his pit that was a hole dug in the ground, they would bring some of their own meat over and he would cook it for them. And they also bought the barbecue sauce from them. He died when my dad was 7. And my grandmother continued to sell the barbecue sauce. She became the first Fuller Brush woman in America. She did all kinds of things to make a life and make a living and raise the 3 of her 5 children who were still left at home. When my dad was in high school, he built pits out of 55-gallon barrels, sold those to make money. And he has just barbecued his whole life. People would bring meat to him, and he would barbecue for free for class reunions and parties. Any family party, it was always barbecue was the main feature and always surrounding that. So this contest that they started, very quickly they realized in order to get more teams to come to the contest, they needed to have a team and go out on the circuit to meet the teams. At this time, the only way you know about a barbecue contest is the National Barbecue News. So there's no email, there's no internet. You're waiting on that monthly publication to, isn't that crazy?
That's
to arrive at your door. And a team or a contest had to know to get their stuff in early enough to make the print edition.
Wow.
That only came out once a month. So their first contest, they won a prize. I can't remember what they won. I can go back and look. But on their fifth contest, they won grand champion. Yeah. And at that time, to get into Memphis in May, you had to grand champion somewhere. Yeah. So their sixth contest became Memphis in May. And that's where they really just rewrote the records and rewrote the rules, because they were the first team north of the Mason-Dixon line to win. They got the first perfect score ever, and they did that twice in their time as a competing team. And they really only competed in 64 contests. So we have this warehouse full of trophies won in 64 contests, which is kind of unreal.
64
Exactly.
That's
So lots of people have won many more trophies today, but I will tell you, no one has won that much right out of the gate.
No, I don't know of anyone else who won Memphis in May their first time.
Yeah.
That's pretty
and then did it 3 more times. So
when he was out running around doing the competition stuff with Apple City, where were you?
What was I doing? Well,
what were you doing?
Exactly, not this. I moved to Boston. I went to Mizzou to journalism school and then moved to Boston. I was working in advertising, marketing, and PR jobs in that area. But in 2000, I ended up coming back into the business. So I started doing little projects here and there. And as his star is ascending, he wasn't getting back to people quick enough when reporters would call. So I finally said, give me all those little pieces of paper and I will call people back. So I got roped back in, and I really found that I could do all of this as long as I had a cell phone, FedEx, and a computer. You can really work from anywhere. I wrote our books in Boston.
Wow.
Yeah. And then as my children grew older, I was able to travel back and forth.
Okay. I feel like I've seen you here at the event since before.
Yeah. I always came back for the event.
Yeah.
Well, I would say actually my first event that I came back to was probably 2001.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, I'm sure glad you did, because it's been great getting to know you.
Me too.
So I have to ask, when you pulled out of here at age 18 or 17 to head to Columbia, Missouri, did you ever think you'd be coming back, living here and running a business in Murphysboro?
Never did I think it. No.
But here you are. Here you are. And I just have to ask, what does that mean to you to be now you're a pillar of the Murphysboro community?
Well, it is really special. I came back when my dad's health was failing. And so the time that I got to spend with him was really priceless. Most adults don't get to come back and do that. Luckily, it just kismet. My children were grown. They were away at school. Everybody, was taken care of. Had they been in high school, I couldn't have come back and rearranged everything quite the way that I did. So I really feel that I got a couple of more really good years with him. We still had a book tour to do. And in fact, I didn't even tell my editor that any of this happened because I was afraid she would cancel my tour. So I was driving him to those therapy appointments and getting him all back into shape because we had work to do. We still had things that had to happen. But it was really special, and it's been special to be back here. I am one of 10 first cousins, and we have almost 30 children between us. So I'm surrounded by a lot of family who still lives in this area. And the one thing that I really learned from my dad was how important it is to be civic-minded, to give back, to make things happen in a community. I watched him do that, with this contest and with all the things that have happened in his life and in his civic world. So it was very natural for me to step right into that and keep going.
I had the honor of meeting your dad, the legend, back in 2017 at the book signing, one of the book signing events that you did. And kind of that later that year, Brian and I were able to make our first appearance here at Praise the Lard. And I think we've missed maybe just 1 year in that time frame. And I'm wondering, Amy, if you can share maybe a memory of your dad from Praise the Lard that really captures the magic of this event, because that is just really the word that I have used to describe just these grounds, and I'm getting like those goosebumps and the
tingly
heebie-jeebies.
vibes
The
of
tingly,
Murphysboro.
it's just, I don't know how else to describe it other than that amazing energy of just these grounds are so sacred. And I'm hoping that maybe you can share a memory.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I'm going to get teary. So many memories. I think one thing that's really remarkable to me is that you can't walk anywhere, especially in a place like Memphis in May or here, 2 steps and you stop, 2 steps and you stop. Because everybody wants to talk, and he will talk, and he will talk to every single person for as long as they need to talk, unless he really has to get somewhere. So he was so good about making those personal connections and making everybody feel really welcome and at home. And I'm so proud of the team that we have right now today, because I feel like they really embody that spirit.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head, that hospitality that we all experience before we even arrive. You know, we know the amount of effort and the crew that you have and the massive team that it takes to put on an event like this. And truly that hospitality comes through. I think it was our first year here at Praise the Lard. Smoke Freaks, we have a lot of stuff when we compete, so it takes us a while to pack up and get on back on the road. So we're often the last one out of town, and your dad was there to make sure that we exited safely and to wish us farewell. And if I recall correctly, last year when we left, that person was you, Amy. So you have certainly upheld that, and we definitely feel that love.
Oh,
we all
well,
do.
that means so much. I was talking to someone in a different interview, and we were talking about the fact that there are not that many contests that are, you know, locally run contests that have made it for 37 years. And I think if it's a committee, it's really hard to do that, because committees get tired and they disband and something happens. But because we took this over as a company all those years ago, and we've been able to grow it and evolve, and it's really folded into our workday, I think that's why we're still here and why we're able to do it at the level that we're trying to achieve.
Right.
Yep, and I'm sure the reason the people keep coming back is all about those things Anz was talking about, the vibes, the connections. In fact, not 30 minutes ago, I was looking for you, and I ran into an old guy from, I think he said Destin, Florida. And I just mentioned that I was looking for you.
Was that Keto?
It may have been. Old guy, I think he's a judge. And he said, you know, I live in Destin and I got a barbecue shop. You know, Lily's, you know that guy?
Lily's
He
cute.
grabbed me by the collar and he said, that man told me that Mike Mills is the reason that all of us are here today.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
And 30 minutes ago, I'd never met this guy.
standing on shoulders of giants. That's exactly what we're all doing. He's Charlie McKenna's dad.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Wow.
I get the goosebumps too. Yes.
This is the kind of thing that
Yeah.
happens in Murphysboro.
And I didn't know he was coming, so I can't wait to find him.
You run into legends, and there have been many come through here, but there's only one that's known as the legend. So I have to ask, what's it like growing up with a dad who's called the legend? That had to get a little old.
Well, it's it didn't really get old, but it's definitely you don't get away with much. Somebody is always watching. If you are going too fast down the street, you know it. Your parents know it before you got home. So I got away with nothing. And I didn't have quite enough fun either, because I just knew. So
let's talk a little bit about 17th Street Barbecue, because from what I understand, this is one of those destinations that people come to all year from other places. In fact, when I go inside, I see their names on maps from all over the country.
yeah.
How did that come to be? I mean, a little spot like this on the map like that.
Well, again, I think you have Mike Mills and the power of the pen, the power of the press. I used to, when I came along and really amped up marketing and public relations, that was great. But I was said to someone once, well, he was famous before I came back. He'd already been on Good Morning America, and he'd been in Vogue magazine twice. And he was like, yes, thank you for remembering. So I definitely get a lot of credit for marketing and PR, but he was well on his way.
Sure.
before that. I was just able to harness it and spend a little more time on it. 17th Street, every single day there are people from at least one other country in 4 states, which is crazy. And people really do come here. They're on a barbecue tour. They're just visiting and they are Googling where to come. But I would say most people are darkening the doorstep because they've heard about it, read about it. They saw us on TV. You can never discount the power of Food Network and being on one of those shows. Sure. They live forever and it's awesome.
Sure.
So it really, all of those shows, not only do they bring people to our door, they shine a spotlight on Southern Illinois. And that cannot be discounted either, especially in some very lean years in our town when nothing much was happening. This was happening and it brought people here. And, local people know and recognize and appreciate that.
And I feel like other barbecue restaurants have popped up around this general vicinity within 30 miles, probably because
so many
people were coming here already. And most of them didn't last very long.
I had one literally, one on that corner and one on that corner.
So, I guess
but
that's what happens when they're successful.
But they're not there
People want to come on. Well, back to the bit about barbecue competitions. So, I know you haven't been to all 37 of them, but you've been around some. Barbecue competitions every now and then can get a little crazy. And I'm wondering if you can remember any particularly wild things that happened in Murphysboro in your time.
I'm not sure about wild. I think, actually, we've had
Smokey D's around, it's bound.
We've had some funny things. One year we were doing a Food Network shoot and we were trying to get people to come and the reason that we sold them on it is that we had the dual sanction contest. So instead of just KCBS, they had the people who came to be filmed had to cook MBN also. They didn't have to cook all 3 categories.
Sure.
They could choose what they were going to cook, and they were not happy about this. And one person who was not happy was Mr. Johnny Trigg. And an interesting thing about our contest being dual sanctioned is that we have adjusted the timelines. So these teams who are out on the circuit have a timeline in their computer. They print it out. They know exactly what's going to be happening at every 30 minutes for an entire day.
And now
every 30 seconds.
Right. And now
Totally
we mess
understand.
with that because we have folded in all the MBN turn-ins along with that so that you could cook ribs and turn in for 2 contests. So it throws people off. And you really have to be on your A game.
You have to
here
be organized.
because you are not cooking the same way any longer. So he did not like the turn-in schedule, and he stood up in the cooks meeting and talked about that. And one of our other teams, who is I think is strictly an MBN team, there was almost fisticuffs because he came up and did one of those poke in the chest to Johnny Trigg. I mean, he did not know who he was, so there was definitely some drama. And of course, the TV loved it because they're always looking for drama. So those cameras came right over, and you can still see that immortalized on one of the seasons of Pitmasters.
Oh, I love it. I remember one of the years that we cooked MBN events for the first time beyond KCBS. I was turning in our MBN ribs, and some of our buddies from KCBS were like, no, what are you doing? Your times are wrong. You're behind or ahead, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but Ann, go back. That's wrong. I'm like, no, this is MBN. They were all just so confused.
It is confusing.
So you're right. You really have to be on top. And I remember that first timeline that we had, things were definitely out of order and in different places. And it required a lot of rejiggering to make it all work.
3 rounds of ribs that day because we were prepared for finals. I don't think we made it that year on the MBN side. We didn't know better. I turned in spares.
We didn't know.
Didn't know. KCBS guy at the time. Just for the record, MBN judges don't want your spare ribs. Don't even try.
Hey, we were mid-pack. It could have been
But that
worse.
same day, the same recipe got a 180 in KCBS. So
it's crazy.
It's fun.
Judges want that they want. You can't fight it.
Exactly. And it's a game. I think people, there are always going to be some unhappy people who leave here, but it is a game.
I don't know how you could ever be unhappy leaving Murphysboro.
Oh,
Like Ann says,
okay.
It's probably the event we look forward to the most every year. All week long, we've been working on the toast and working on our hog presentation. And So it's just been a constant stream of good feels that we get to come back here every year.
As we've been getting ready for this, and as our friends have been making their way down, we were seeing a lot of social media headed to my favorite comp of the year, headed to our favorite event of the year. And it's not one of the favorites. It is the favorite from so many people. And we share that, we feel that. And the magic here really is quite palpable. It's where, on these very grounds, Brian and I had a major barbecue breakthrough. We were really just stressing ourselves out in our early days, total freaks, imagine that. And we came here and we decided, you know what, we're just going to have fun. We're just going to not put so much pressure on ourselves. We're just going to rely on the skills that we've honed. And that night, that Friday night, we went to inject and all the meat's frozen. And instead of freaking out in a bad way, we left. And we figured out what to do, and we got everything injected, and we had a really great time that year, and we did very well. So a big barbecue breakthrough for us here, and
That's
it
awesome.
truly is the premier event for us. And so many.
So this, like you said, is a company event, and I would love it if you could talk about some of the things that you instill in the team that pulls this event off, because this is way more than just you. I look around and there's
no, it's
dozens
huge.
and
Pit
dozens
crew.
of people milling around, and everyone always has such a great time here. What are you teaching them or telling them to help them pull this off?
Well, the team that we have who pulls this off, many of them have been here from 9 to 25 years, which is really unheard of
Remarkable.
in the
Whoa.
barbecue world.
Yeah.
And a lot of people you see in these shirts are also volunteers, which is even better. Like, one of the things my dad was so smart at doing was pulling townspeople in. So we have people who are ambassadors. So each ambassador is assigned 10 or so teams, and they take care of those teams. They'll run to the store for you.
They have run to the
They
store.
have
They
done
will,
that.
They have done
they will tell you,
Last year.
find out what you need to know, like whatever you need. One of them has put together a Bloody Mary wagon and a mimosa wagon, and she'll be driving around Saturday morning with mimosas and Bloody Marys. I mean, these people really go out of their way to do
So special.
nice things for people. So
Yeah.
that is like a special brand of hospitality.
Yeah.
But, the team itself, everybody is just so proud to work at 17th Street. And I think that comes from years of Mike Mills's tutelage, and then, whatever new and different that I have brought to the table. I'm definitely more regimented than my dad is. We have a lot more meetings. We have a book club. We all read books and discuss them. And it's funny, we're not reading a book right now, and they've asked me several times, what's our next book?
Oh.
So they complain when they have to read the book sometimes, but they
they're into
like the book.
Yeah.
They're into the book. So they're all business books and hospitality books. But each one of these people is just taking huge pride in their work, and they're so proud to be associated with 17th Street and to really feel like they're part. It's very much a team.
I feel like you all have written the book on hospitality, and a book on hospitality that Brian and I are familiar with is Setting the Table. The idea
We read that book, and I'm sure you read
Danny
about
Meyer.
Mike Mills
Yeah.
in that book.
Yep.
Well, we were partners with Danny and Blue Smoke.
right.
So,
The
Yeah.
idea of having something done for you, not to you. And that's
exactly. It's a
truly,
marvelous
it
book.
truly is just a twist on a great idea, and y'all have it here.
Yes. Well, thank you. That's a must read for anybody
Yeah.
in the barbecue or hospitality world. And another one that's really, I think, a newly updated and different type of story is Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Godara, who was at 11 Madison Park. And he worked for
Okay.
Danny for years too. So
Okay.
Danny is one of his mentors,
Yeah.
but that is a must. You could even listen. It's a great listen to. So on your drive
On our
back
drive
to
back. Okay.
Chicago, you could listen to that.
Well, speaking of books, the book I really want, so I have something to give my wife for Christmas, is a coffee table book of all the Sunday sermons. So I have to ask you about those. Where do they come
Okay.
from? Whose brain do they spring from? Who sticks them up on the board, and what time does that happen?
Well, funny you say that, because a publisher has approached me about that.
Ooh,
So we're working on that. I don't know what shape it will take, but
amazing.
when
How did that tradition
I
start?
love
well,
it.
we used to have two signs. We had one on the ground in our old bedraggled cook-off grounds, and we have the regular restaurant sign. And I just started having them put it, instead of saying, come in for a pulled pork sandwich, like, let's have some words up here. And so I just started putting up quotations. And so then you have 4 each week. So you have front and back, front and back.
Ah,
And there are things I've saved, there are things my dad has said, there are things I've said, there are things my grandmother said. I will Google, like I have competition ones will be going up tomorrow.
Yep.
Competition themed. So I do a lot of Googling competition themed quotations. And then you have to pick something that fits into 4 lines.
You were like Twitter before Twitter
Exactly.
even existed.
Exactly. And when I first put them up, they were just in color, and everybody hates doing it, honestly. Now they get it, like they understand. But
It's
in the beginning,
huge.
it's a work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And somebody said, let's get a digital board. And we will never have a digital board here, because that would take away the charm of the whole thing.
Agree.
If they're not in black and white, I wouldn't recognize it.
Exactly.
Right.
So now I
to
made
the
them
feed.
black and white because they were color. And then I thought, well, I'm going to make them different now. So it's always a fun thing to do. And I desperately need some new letters because we've had a lot of windstorms and things have blown away and things have gone really brown looking, but it just adds to the charm.
So tomorrow,
I'm short on vowels right
you're
now.
short on
I'm
vowels.
short on vowels. Yes.
Tomorrow, something new goes up. Is that
Yes.
right? All right. Well, I know I have my favorites over the years, and truly, it is a fun thing to just scroll through socials on Sunday and beyond and just
But they're
see what's
just
up.
these little
They're just-
tidbits of wisdom that you can absolutely apply to your life. I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever read one that I didn't look for and find some meaning in it.
May the pork be with you.
All right. Well, it was probably.
I love that
Well,
one.
that one
I
is
was on May
now we
4th.
just
On
have
May
to do
4th.
it. Exactly. That's a standard.
I love that one.
I will put together like a month's worth of these, and then the person who is pulling the letters and putting them up gets to choose.
Oh,
And so it's so
okay.
interesting when one goes up. If I didn't say, if it's for something special, I'll say, put this up today. But really, they get to choose. And so it speaks to me too. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did that one, of all this
I
get
love
chosen
it.
today? I know.
Have you
I
tried
know.
the Chat GPT for this kind of thing yet?
No,
It's terrible at creative
I'm not.
things.
Yeah.
Just,
No.
it's
I'm-
horrible.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I fed some words in for my hog presentation, and I just said, never mind.
I can always tell a Chat GTP anything. It always has the word strive in it.
Oh boy.
That I can
There-
tell.
Better take
yeah.
that out of the toast.
Exactly. No, I mean there's certain words and turns
just
of phrase that are
Feel,
like
that
yeah.
feel.
Exactly.
All right, time check. We are.
We got just 2
3
minutes left. So,
2 minutes.
Amy,
Yep.
what would you like the world to know about this fabulous event that's happening? How long? Today, tomorrow,
And
Saturday.
Saturday, yes.
What does the general public need to know? Because it's
Okay.
too late to sign up and compete. We're full,
We're full.
But it's not too late to come down and be
No,
part
not
of
at
it.
all.
and
Yeah.
there's plenty to do.
Yeah.
The big day to come down would be tomorrow, would be Friday. It is so much fun. There's a Grand Champion meal that you can get a ticket for. You can just eat at 17th Street or somewhere else. There's free live music that starts at 6:30, I think. We actually give out the steak awards between the two bands. Music will go until midnight. It's just fun. You can walk around the cook-off grounds. You can chat with teams, chat with people. Every age comes out. It's just really a ton of fun.
I think you may have put your finger on what I love about this event so much. I've always liked traveling to smaller towns and just meeting the folks who live there. But there's nowhere like Murphysboro because they've got this wonderful promenade that goes through most of the teams. And the townsfolk expect to interact with you, and that's what makes it so great. We always put a little ring toss board up on our trailer just to invite little kids to come hang out at our
That's so
trailer,
great.
and then we get to talking to them.
We make a lot of new
It's so
friends.
much fun.
Yeah.
Y'all really should come down here. Thanks everyone for tuning in to Flavor Talk tonight with our special guest, Amy Mills. Again, we are at Murphysboro, Illinois, 17th Street Barbecue, right on 17th Street, as you might suspect. If not, Google will hook you up and get you here.
Barbecue capital of
come.
Illinois. Don't forget that. Barbecue capital of
It's the
Illinois.
barbecue capital of Illinois.
It is.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you guys being here. And I can't wait for the toast.
All right.
Cheers, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on the other side of this fantastic event.